welcome to the Ghost of Harrenhal. My name's Simon.
And I'm Mackelly.
Thank you for joining us for episode 263 of our chapter-by-chapter book review of Song of Ice and Fire by George Martin. Today we'll be discussing chapter 37 of A Feast for Crows, that's Brienne 7.
And as always, we're going to chat about the chapter and try not to spoil any future plot points for you, unless, of course, you have a Buy Me a Coffee Sustainer tier that includes spoilers. Then we will spoil things for you. Regardless, we'll hopefully provide you some entertainment along the way.
We'll summarise what happened, discuss our thoughts on it, provide some useful background, compare it to the television show, indulge in a little pedantry and cover some relevant news and listener correspondence. Be sure to check out the show notes that provide additional information about the characters' geography of this chapter. How are you, Mackelly?
I'm doing all right. I'm hanging in there. You, on the other hand, could probably use a stiff drink after the day you've had.
Yes, I'm holding it back until after we've recorded, but yes. So I got a speeding ticket on the way to work this morning, which was really annoying. But I will say, credit to the police department. The police officer who stopped me was extremely nice and very pleasant. And disarmingly so, because it was kind of like, it's kind of scary to get stopped by police,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
He chatted about what brought me to the States and, you know, why I was still here. I mean, I don't think he was trying to get me out of here, wasn't he?
What are you still here for?
But this came hot on the heels of, I went to the dentist the other day. And did I tell you this earlier? Mackelly and I had lunch. Well, we've kind of had lunch together briefly today.
Yes, yeah, you did not tell me this, but yes, we did. It's good to see you.
Yes, likewise. I went to the dentist, and she said to me, Simon, have you been wearing that mouth guard I made for you? And I was like, well, you know, not religiously.
You see a thing as this.
She said, well, I'm pretty sure you've been grinding my teeth, and you want me to tell you how I know? And I said, do tell. And she said, when you really grind your teeth, if you have fillings that are near your gum line, they take a lot of strain when those teeth grind. And sometimes they pop out and you swallow them.
Oh, goodness.
So tomorrow I'm getting 2 fillings replaced that I've eaten.
Were they the metal fillings or the white fillings?
I believe they were the white ones, not the metal ones. Or she was just playing it like, you know, don't worry about it, you'll be fine.
No big deal. Yeah. Oh, yes. And that wasn't the extent of your day, because when I caught up with you, you were limping around like nobody's business.
Well, so what happened, right? So I told you last week that we won the regular season of the competitive soccer at work, which gives us the number 1 seed for the playoffs, which meant we played the number 8 seed in the first round of the playoffs. I've been carrying a bit of a hamstring injury, so I told my manager, hey, I'll show up if I need to, maybe go out there, have some fun, you know, because I'm thinking, we've got these guys.
Right, yeah.
We only have 10 players to start with, so I'm definitely playing. And then they score a spectacular goal against us. And then it's all hands to the pump. And I'm chasing around and I messed up my hamstring again, which was not the point of me turning up today. But yes.
Yeah. You looked like you were in some discomfort. It's a good thing, because when I saw you, you were heading toward the stairs to go to your office. Yeah, the fact that you were moving so slow allowed me to chase you down.
You're like a lion with a wounded wildebeest.
Right. Yes. It was funny because I came up to your office because I was on campus in order to buy something from a fellow employee. And so I said to you, hey, can we go up to your office and you could look up this person's name? It's John Covington. And you're like, yeah, as we go up, there's no John Covington. I'm like, no, it's John Connington. You look up, nope, there's no John Connington. So we're trying to figure it out. And eventually we go and look up the ad that I'm buying that caused me to buy this thing from him. And it turned out neither parts of the name were correct. So, you know.
To be fair, you had the initials down, but everything else was just random. Yeah, I was glad to see he was in that building. At least you got that bit right.
Yeah, exactly. And I was inspecting your freshly minted speeding ticket. And I said, how much is it? And you're like, I don't know, I haven't even looked. And so I was looking at the thing, and I was like, oh, it's $206. Or wait, is that a 2 or a 9? Big difference in price there. Apparently I needed my readers.
Well, I've based my ability to make funny stories about this on that number being a 2, not a 9. If it's a 9...
Yeah, you should probably check to verify my my reporting.
I will go have my day in court after all.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear about your rough day. That's tough.
Well, you know what? Especially you youngsters, don't speed. It's poor form. Actually, I will say that is what the police officer made me feel better about. He said, "Look, I caught you. You were speeding. My gun told me you were over the speed limit." He said, "But I will say you were in a big crowd of cars. I could have caught any of you. I just happened to catch you. That's why I'm not going to throw the book at you here, because it could have been any of them, you know."
Yeah, you told me that earlier too, and that kind of annoyed me, because if you're going with the flow of traffic, I mean, you're going with the flow of traffic. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
So
but
once
I was at the front of it, flicking them the bird because I was leaving them in the dust.
You were the pace car. Once again, you were the wounded hyena, or the wounded gazelle, getting caught by the lion.
You know what's funny is the sort of the catalogue of things that made me get there just when that cop was there, because I have a decision point on my journey to work, and I often go the other way, so that could have easily gone the other way. But when I left the house this morning, I got to the bottom of my driveway and I was like, do I have my soccer shorts? And I went and checked in the back of the car, and I didn't. So I drove back up the driveway and got my soccer shorts and came back. And so that put me... I could have played, you know, in my underwear and not got a ticket. I might have got a different ticket, to be fair.
True. Well, maybe your day will get better here with discussing Brienne's
I've been
7.
looking forward to the thought of this all day, so let's do this, shall we?
All right, yes.
I feel like I should have said something else at that point. There's something I say. Well, let's get down to business. How did we leave Brienne of Tarth? Last we saw of Brienne, she was visiting the Quiet Isle, where she learned from the elder brother that she was on the trail of the wrong Stark girl. It was Arya who'd been in the company of the Hound, and now the Hound is dead. Elder brother had buried him personally, but left the helmet on the grave. And apparently some other big bugger had picked up that helmet because the town of Saltpans had been devastated by a band of outlaws led by the Hound since then. Mackelly, why don't we give the summary of this one?
All right, let's do that. Well, Brienne and company plod through the Riverlands. It's not pleasant, as the trees are decorated with hanged soldiers, all in faded, tattered remnants of the houses that they represented. Whoever's doing the hanging doesn't appear to be on anyone's side. Brienne's conversations on the Quiet Isle make her spare a thought for these victims. They were broken by the war and probably turned to crime. They paid the price for their lords playing the Game of Thrones.
We'll be right back.
Hello, friends. Are you ready to make some unforgettable memories? Well, if so, consider the Marriott Bonvoy program. Discover the perfect destination for your summer getaway and unlock exclusive deals on luxurious accommodations. With our affiliate partnership, you'll enjoy unbeatable savings and a seamless booking experience. Don't let summer slip away. Visit Marriott Bonvoy today and make this vacation season one for the books. Use our Ghosts of Harrenhal affiliate page to check it all out and buy Bonvoy points or give some as a gift. The link to our page is in the show notes.
The group speculates that the hanged men may have been part of the raid on Saltpans, or believed to be so, probably strung up by the Brotherhood Without Banners. They, the group, are headed for the inn at the Crossroads. Septon Meribald knows a lot of history of the inn, its various names and owners, down to Masha Heddle, then her nephew, and last he heard, her nieces. He's fond of the place and hopes it's still in operation.
When they arrive, they're greeted warily by 4 girls. The eldest, Willow, is roughly 10-ish by Brienne's estimation. They don't give the warmest of welcomes, however, but soften when Septon Meribald mentions that they've brought food that they're willing to share. Their helplessness is somewhat belied when they're joined by none other than Gendry, straight from the forge. Brienne is flabbergasted and sputters, "My lord," mistaking the youth for Renly Baratheon.
She realizes her mistake. The boy is younger and bulkier, more like Renly's brother Robert. The group takes 3 rooms, and Brienne makes a plan with Pod to leave before dawn. Septon Meribald's got his own circular plans, and Hyle Hunt's motivations still aren't clear. While sitting by her fire together, Hyle Hunt does make one thing clear. He wants to marry Brienne, and he fully admits it will be a marriage of opportunity. Lands and a castle for him, babies for her. Brienne is not interested.
No, she's not. At dinner, there were more surprises, as the hall is filled with children of all ages. Willow is clearly in charge, but it's an unruly bunch. Brienne wonders if possibly Willow could be Arya Stark. She has only a vague sense of Arya's looks, but the kid is the right age and was clearly born to lead. Septon Meribald leads a prayer at which Gendry up and leaves. The other kids explain that he follows the Lord of Light. Brienne eventually joins Gendry at the forge, and she broaches the subject of his parentage. He knows nothing. She tells him that he is the image of King Robert. At that moment, riders enter the yard. She starts, but Gendry is confident that they're friends.
However, they're no friends of Brienne. She recognizes Biter. She doesn't want to fight. There are 7 of them. But when they threaten Willow, Brienne steps forward. The man in the hound's helm attacks. That's Rorge. In the mud and rain, the footing is treacherous, and only Brienne's training and skills keep her alive. As she kills the man, she whispers, "Sapphires." She only has a second to enjoy her victory when Biter attacks her. He breaks bones in her face with a punch and snaps her arm. He then starts biting chunks out of her face. As she drifts away, she sees his tongue sticking out, horribly distended, as if it were a sword.
Huh, how about that?
Yeah,
As if it were a sword. Well, his teeth are filed to points, so
yes,
maybe his
tongue
is... Yeah.
I'm hoping that someone killed him. That's my
yes,
hope.
that would be nice. That would, that of all the people who wouldn't mind dying in this story, he's up there.
Yeah. That seems reasonable. Seems like a good end for him.
So the chapter opens with, they're riding through the Riverlands, and basically every 100 yards or so, there's a corpse hung from a tree, and then later from a gibbet. But the first corpse that they come across in the chapter, as the chapter opens, is hung from a blackened tree by a lightning strike, and they're pretty sure that these hanged men are done so by the Brotherhood Without Banners, and of course the Brotherhood Without Banners has been led for a long time by Beric Dondarrion, who is the Lightning Lord. So I kind of appreciated I don't know if it's a metaphor or the symmetry or what exactly it is, but I kind of appreciated the fact that he was hung from a dead tree that was struck by lightning, likely by the Lightning Lord.
And for people who aren't reading it like we're reading it, that's a kind of a useful sort of tip, to sort of like clue you into what's going on, that yes, this makes sense that it would be them. And it does make sense that it would be them. I'm not sure. I was less convinced that they were necessarily being accused of the assault on salt pans. It seems like these could just be soldiers who turned to crime, and the Brotherhood Without Banners might have hung them just for that. Wouldn't necessarily have to be, because they committed an atrocity.
Yes, I have thoughts on this, which is good because that's what we're here to do. Share thoughts on this. So the group thinks, voiced by
I have no
Hyle Hunt.
thoughts, but I have off-the-cuff responses to your thoughts. Ready to go.
Right.
Okay.
You do. You're very good at that.
Oh, thanks.
So the group thinks, voiced by Hyle Hunt, but Brienne agrees that these men were the men that committed the atrocities in salt pans. And it's mostly because, because there's a whole bunch of hanged men, and she knows people have been looking for those who committed the atrocities of salt pans. But on top of that, there is a ball of salt packed in the mouths of every man. And that makes sense, salt for salt pans.
Yes.
However,
if it was called Salt Mouth, it would be even more convincing.
Right. That might have been a little too on the nose at that point.
Yes.
But I think the salt could possibly be pulling a double duty here.
Go on.
Because it could also be symbolic of the atrocities committed at the Red Wedding. Because at the Red Wedding, they broke guest rites, which are initiated with bread and salt.
Yeah.
So, now, as we mentioned in the summary, most of these men that were hanged had cloaks and helmets with sigils on them. So possibly, I mean, okay, so at the end of the chapter, we see Rorge is wearing the dog's head helm, which was seen in salt pans. And we know that the brave companions were at salt pans because Shagwell told Brienne before she killed him that Rorge and Biter and some other brave companions went to salt pans. So, and then also the elder brother just told Brienne last chapter that the men that committed the atrocities were first looking to escape across the narrow sea, and when they couldn't find a ship, that's when they started attacking the town. So possibly these men were broken men that joined up with the brave companions, because let's face it, Rorge and Biter were also broken men who joined up with the brave companions. And that might explain why they have sigils that are Westerosi when, the brave companions were an ASOIAF outfit originally. So,
Yep. I have an alternative thing. I think actually it was Willow and crew at the inn of the Crossroads. Basically, they were using all these people like they were all pointing to the inn, like
like they did in Astapor.
The other thing I'll say is I love how the sort of attack on salt pans has become like this sort of like this fictional thing that happened back in the day. Oh, the attack on salt pans. Do you remember the movie Airplane when they're talking about the attack over Macho Grande? No, I don't think I'll ever get over Macho Grande. It feels like salt pans is like the attack on Macho Grande.
In the epilogue of A Storm of Swords, we met a leader of the Brotherhood Without Banners who, we surmised based on how that whole scene played out, was the reanimated corpse of Catelyn Stark. And her primary focus very much seemed to be on the Red Wedding, not salt pans. So, but the sigils don't necessarily match up. It's not like they're all
Freys and Lannisters.
Yes, there's the salmon sigil, which is the Mootons of Maidenpool. To my knowledge, I don't think they were at the Red Wedding. So,
right.
The salt could be sending a separate message from the crimes that these particular men actually committed, just kind of reminding the realm that the Red Wedding hasn't been forgotten.
Yes, I can see that. I could see that she has sort of like go out there, kill everybody who's doing wrong, and flag it as something to do with the Red Wedding, whether it was or not,
Right, yeah, could be. I guess that's ultimately what I'm getting at. It could be salt pans, or it could be pulling double duty and also be about the Red Wedding.
Yeah. So Brienne is concerned that Beric Dondarrion might be nearby, or a new leader of the Brotherhood Without Banners, if Beric has finally succumbed to his deaths.
Right, yep.
Should she fear him? I mean, I feel like no. The Beric we know would probably talk to her and let her go. I mean, she's not a prize like Arya was that could be ransomed.
Right.
Well, maybe she is, but not quite to the same extent.
But she's also technically doing Cat's bidding, and if we're making the assumption that this woman in the epilogue of The Storm of Swords is the reanimated corpse of Catelyn Stark, then the question is, how much does she remember from her previous life? Right. Aside from the revenge for the Red Wedding, which seemed pretty clear that she remembered that.
Yeah. So that begs the question: will she actually be? Oh, hey, Brienne, it's been so long. You should see what's happened to me in the meantime. Or will she be, hey, I put you in charge of looking after my daughters, and I don't see hide nor hair of them, and I'm not as nice as I used to be.
Right.
Everybody has become Jon Snow for me.
Right. She wears Jon Snow colored glasses. Yeah, if you Okay, if you don't know Brienne's story since she left Riverrun like we know, you're seeing Brienne of Tarth, who apparently got Jaime back to King's Landing, left King's Landing without either of the girls that she was supposed to acquire, and she's got this fancy new Valyrian steel sword, which, by the by, happens to be made out of ice, her husband's ancestral sword. I can see how that could be a bad look.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I can see the counter arguments too. They weren't in King's Landing.
right.
Had they been, I would have brought them back. But yeah. Certainly on the surface, it doesn't look good for her. But man, if she has one witness working for her, they'll be like, oh my God, she never shuts up about a girl of 10 and 3 with auburn hair.
You know what? I mean, surely the Brotherhood has come across someone who's come across Brienne here in the Riverlands.
Good point. Exactly.
10 and 3, fair of face, auburn hair, yada yada. Yeah, she's looking for her. I wonder if she'll. They always say that Beric gives his captives a trial before hanging them. So, if she's allowed to call witnesses, she might be able to, clear her name if any issues arrive from it,
Yeah. I do fear, however, that dead Catelyn might not be as nice as Beric.
We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Audible. To get a free audiobook, or 2 if you're an Amazon Prime member, go to our exclusive URL, audibletrial.com/ghostsharrenhal. You can find the link in our show notes. That's true, yes. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we don't know exactly who's in charge because we haven't seen Beric in ages, and we only got this one glimpse of this
And did
woman.
she give Merit Frey, did she give him a trial? I think her trial consisted of her pointing at him and saying,
and saying, he was involved. Yeah, I think you're right.
So old Masha Heddle gets a reference, and I've always had a soft spot for Masha Heddle because she has the best name of anyone in the whole book. She, if we remember, was hung by Tywin when he took the occupancy of the inn at the Crossroads. Likely, we surmised, I think, at the time, and still, because Tyrion was taken from the inn, and so she could have done more to protect a Lannister than she did.
Yeah, And we knew that she had been hanged because when Tyrion came back from the Mountains of the Moon and met his father at this inn, he saw her in the gibbet. So, and she's a good, honest, salt of the earth type person, and she told Kat when Kat took Tyrion hostage, she said, "I don't want any involvement. I don't want any trouble. Please don't do this here." Do this somewhere else. Yeah. And I mean, I think everyone knows that Kat's one of the least liked characters among the fandom, and this is just kind of one example of why.
To be fair to Catelyn Stark, this story should not reflect badly on Catelyn Stark, but on Tywin Lannister.
Well, yes, it should, of course. Of course it should.
We have this grudging respect for Tywin, but Catelyn, you just had a little bit more thoughtfulness about taking Tyrion.
Right, and she certainly could not have foreseen Masha getting killed by her actions here, but it's just like, the havoc left in the wake of her often poorly thought out spur-the-moment actions, like leaving Winterfell held by children, not raising the northern defenses when Ned said, "I need you to go back and raise the northern defenses," and of course freeing Jaime. All these kind of decisions that she made without really thinking it through. I think it's these are all kind of the things that culminate into why she's not a very popular figure.
I will say, though, that at least 2 of those are just fulcrum moments in the story. They need to happen. The taking of Tyrion needs to happen, and the freeing of Jaime needs to happen. And so those things I can forgive her for what they create in terms of a story.
Yes, you make a very good point right there. Yeah. I mean, someone had to do it.
Yeah.
you know?
She's sort of a scapegoat for us all despairing of her decisions. But,
Right.
it'd be a boring story if she went, well, it's nice to meet you, Tyrion. I'm just off to the north to raise the defenses,
Right. Yeah.
If you see your brother, tell him hi from me.
Yeah, of course, she did have another opportunity when she sent Roderick back north. She could have gone with him, but instead she went to Robb, at Mackelly, which, I mean, he is her oldest son, and he is a teenage boy who, when she left, was still very much a boy.
And also, when left to his own devices, got married to a Westerling.
Yes, that cost him a kingdom.
Exactly. Yeah. Breaking the pact she'd made for him with the phrase.
Yes.
Which was actually a solid pact.
George was actually talking about that today on the Discord channel. He was saying that he was watching a video, and the video was kind of saying that if Robb had insisted on the wedding happening immediately, right then, when Walder and Kat agreed upon terms, marry Rosalind immediately, and then he wouldn't have to worry about, so much about the phrase. He's already married to the fray, and he likely wouldn't have gotten himself into the trouble that he got himself in with Jane Westerling.
Well, at least he wouldn't have married her, because he wouldn't have been allowed to marry her.
Right, yes. So Septon Meribald mentioned that Masha's nephew reopened the inn, and that Meribald said he brought in prostitutes, and that didn't work, and he was killed by some lord. But Timian says that Rorge killed the proprietor of the inn after Rorge questioned the man about the hound. So, I guess it's one of those things where when news spreads and the telephone game happens, and
unless we're arguing that Rorge is a lord of somewhere.
Right, yes. Anyway, so I just wanted to add that, Meribald may have had the wrong type of person that killed the man.
Remind me how Gendry got to this point, because Gendry was always a character that appeared in Arya's POVs, but then he dropped out of Arya's life, and I'm sure some of our listeners have forgotten exactly what happened. So can you refresh their memories?
Not you, of course, but some of our listeners.
No.
Yeah,
heavens no.
Yeah, so Gendry comes out of nowhere. He just all of a sudden there's Gendry back in the story, a little cameo here. So Gendry was moved to join the Brotherhood Without Banners after they saved the Sept from the Brave Companions. And
right. Yeah.
Yeah, he offered to basically be the smith for the Brotherhood, and I think it was Beric Dondarrion himself knighted Gendry. So he is technically Sir Gendry of the Hollow Hill, I think is the name that they gave him. They gave him when he was knighted. But that Gendry's decision to join the Brotherhood prompted Arya to run away because she was feeling abandoned by Gendry and previously Hot Pie when he decided to stay back at that inn. And that's when she was captured by the Hound. And that's when we lost touch with Gendry. And now it seems he's playing guardian to an inn full of children.
Right. And it seems that he is still in with the Brotherhood, because I mean, we don't know that because we never saw it, but he thought friends were riding in, and clearly the Brotherhood is active in the area. But more importantly, it's his rejection of the faith of the Seven and his acceptance of the Lord of Light that feels like he converted body and soul to the Brotherhood.
Yeah, right. I agree.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I will say Brienne kind of bothers me when she tries to ditch her friends. It's kind of silly. I mean, I know she's constantly suspicious, but she could tell. Well, she couldn't tell Hyle Hunt because he's going to follow her around like a dog. But she could tell Septon Meribald. She'd be like, "Oh, we're going our separate ways now." He'd be like, "Well, good luck to you. If I ever get captured by the reanimated corpse of Catelyn Stark, I'll be sure to tell her what you're up to."
Right, looking for her daughters. Yeah, this is her patented move, right?
Exactly.
Sneaking out while traveling while her travel partners sleep. Yeah, Illiford the Penniless and Sir Creighton Longbow and Shadrich the Mad Mouse, they all got bailed on.
Podrick is just like, just one night's sleep. That's all I ask.
That's right. Could I sleep in just one morning?
Up before dawn to escape our friends again.
Yeah. Now, yeah, like you said, Meribald is heading further into the Riverlands, and Brienne is no longer going to Riverrun. So, why not just tell him, okay, this is where our paths part,
Yeah.
But Hyle Hunt, he has admitted that he has no oath to protect Sansa or Arya for that matter. So I guess I could see wanting to give him the slip if she thinks she can successfully do it.
I will say, coming up in a minute, we're going to discuss something, and I'll come up with a theory for what she should do here. Just in a minute, okay?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Next, Willow. So Willow is supposedly Masha's niece or perhaps grandniece. She isn't Arya, I think we can confidently say. You definitely worry for these kids with bands like Rorge and Biters roaming the Riverlands. I mean, like, they destroyed a whole town. What they could do to an inn full of kids is terrifying. Yeah. But she's obviously brave, and like Brienne noticed, she knows how to, lead the kids. But they need to be, unless Biter's tongue at the end was Gendry just, revealing the fact he is genuinely a knight now and can do, he didn't need Brienne to step in for him. He was going to do it himself. But I figure that's not the case.
No, and even Brienne, there was seven men, and Brienne was thinking, I can't take all 7 of these on. So this could have been really bad. Had
well, it
still
bad.
could.
Yeah,
I mean, and it still could be bad. I mean, Brienne is out of commission, and she heard Sir Hyle in the fight, but that's the only other fighter in the group.
Yeah.
So,
and on Sir Hyle, so he proposed. He proposed marriage, not the most romantic proposal, but he sort of laid it out. He offered her a path, a path that wouldn't necessarily be unappealing to many. He would get the land and wealth of being married to the heir to Tarth, and she would get a husband who would, give her babies. He's not reading his future spouse very well if he thinks that's the pitch. But
no, it certainly lacked for any sort of romanticism. But I don't think that's what. One thing is, he was honest with her. At least
that's true.
He didn't try to woo her in some way, dishonestly.
And this is where my other idea comes in, right? She doesn't trust Sir Hyle to not sell Sansa to the highest bidder. In fact, she absolutely believes that's what he would do.
Right.
Well, agree to marry him. And then you've got the wealth taken care of. You don't need to do this. You can do this one act altruistically.
Yeah.
And then you've got a real knight helping you fight your way through the Riverlands if needed. And make it a condition. The condition of your marriage to me is that Sansa is saved.
Yeah. No. Yeah, you're right. I had not thought about that. Now,
Pod is
then
like,
she would be... Then she's stuck marrying a guy she,
he's going to get killed.
That's very likely, yes. You're right.
In his sleep by Brienne, if nothing else.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, she says, she points out the fact that her father's only 54 and could very well remarry and have a male heir, and then she would no longer be his heir. And he responds that, he'll take those odds. He's known men to marry lackwits and babes for less. And so, I mean, we know Bronn and Tyrek Lannister. I wonder if he was speaking of those two as well.
Yes.
I don't know that he would know. He might know of Tyrek Lannister.
It's probably happened throughout history.
Yeah,
it's not that unusual.
Yeah.
But those are two good examples of that from recent past. Of course, if Brienne's father remarries and has a son, Hyle Hunt could say, well, I'm going off now to re-kidnap Sansa Stark and
sell her off
because we're missing out here.
Yeah.
And Brienne at that point might agree, I've got mouths to feed.
Right. Well, but Brienne is in a real, I mean, I think she actually thinks this, both figuratively and literally. She is at a real crossroads here. Pod says, "Where are we going after this?" And she literally can't tell him, and she's thinking to herself, I could go to River Run, I could go to the Eyrie, I could go to King's Landing, I could go to Winterfell, and none of the options are very good. The elder brother says Sansa's not at River Run. Plus, River Run is currently under siege.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not a great option. She's not getting past Moat Cailin to get to Winterfell. Plus, Winterfell has been sacked, and the north is huge. So, there's a lot of issues with that. I personally wish she would go to the Eyrie, but she can't take the high road because even the Hound chose not to take the high road because the mountain clans now have real weapons that, thanks to Tyrion, and the road is too dangerous. But I wish she would take a boat to Gulltown and go in that way. But the last option is home. Go to King's Landing. Give Jaime back his sword, which of course he's not there, but she doesn't know that apparently yet. And then go on from King's Landing back home to Tarth.
She's never going to be able to live with herself, though.
Yeah, I get it if she decides not to finish the quest. I mean, Kat's dead. Jaime's actually at River Run. There's really nobody to finish the quest for. Yeah. And really, there's no shame in going home. I could see some major appeal. But like you said, then what? Marriage to someone like Hyle Hunt and a life she's not interested in. So
yeah, and also the nagging guilt that will stay with her for her entire life of having given up when she didn't know they were dead. She had no proof. Two comments to all that. It was a good monologue, well done. So 3 comments. That's the first. The second one is, I think if she brings the sword back to Jaime, she should really rename it like Oath Trier or something.
Oath Trier.
And secondly, she honestly, of all the peak characters who will take the high road, Brienne is top of that list.
Yeah. I thought of that when I said she can't take the high road. Brienne will find a way to take the high road.
What an interesting idea I read about the inn, the way it was configured, with the kids needing a leader, Gendry on site to provide a bit of basic protection, some practical help, was that it was configured that way as a honey trap for Arya.
Yeah.
Laid out by the Brotherhood without banners under the new leadership of dead Catelyn. Should Arya wander through, she would be tempted to stay put and help them out,
Yeah. I had not thought of that until I saw it here in the notes. And I could see how that could be the case. Again, it depends on how much this Catelyn Stark character recalls about her previous life, aside from her death.
Is she actively seeking her children? Yeah, we don't even know that, do we?
Yeah,
she remembers who killed her. That much we know.
Yeah, and this could be, because it's super dangerous, like we saw. These incredibly dangerous men rode in, and they were unprotected. But it could be secretly watched over by the Brotherhood without banners, to keep it safe.
I'm hoping the kids all have hidey holes that can't be found, that they all run to.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that it's Gendry with the sword. I'm hoping Gendry has become sort of a General Grievous of sword flying, bad guys falling.
And, he could be posted here because there is a forge, and he offered to be the smith for the Brotherhood. Yeah. And he's young but strong. So, although...
It's a good place for him because he can be making swords for them, and they check in every so often, make sure everything's all right, and pick up their new weapons and all this kind of thing,
Yeah.
So and as a trap for her, it has Gendry as well, which is a big appeal to her, because if it was just the kids, she might lose interest, but she's friends with Gendry. He.
Yes.
Meeting back up with her could be a. Well, nice for both of them.
I was going to say that, I'm not sure that Arya would be attracted to an inn full of kids on its own because, I don't know that she really fits in. Although these kids have suffered, a lot of them have suffered the same tragedies that she has, having lost their families and become orphans. But the Gendry thing might be the thing that sways her to stay put.
So the conversation between Bree and Gendry interests me. So since we met Gendry, we've been pretty, 95% confident that he was one of the bastard children of Robert Baratheon. And in fact, this has been verified multiple times in multiple ways since then.
Yeah.
Does he know that? Is he aware of that fact?
No.
Okay.
But
so Brienne has already shared with him more than he might have previously known because, she told him you're the spit of your father or of king.
She said, have you ever seen the king? But she never got to really get into what she wanted to say to him. They never really got to have the conversation. He was talking about how the king was a
drunken oaf.
Kind of a, yes, exactly. Yeah. But, okay, so she mentions, have you your face, have you ever seen King Robert? And it's kind of starting to put this seed there. And, she mentions that he was born in King's Landing with black hair, blue eyes. Has anyone ever remarked on your face? And have you ever seen King Robert? Like, she puts this kind of all in a bundle before she gets a chance to go to the next level. With that seed germinating, coupled with Queen Cersei sending men to look for him. Remember, that altercation with the gold cloaks at that inn with Yoren? And then the king's hand, Jon Arryn, and the king's brother, Stannis Baratheon, randomly showing up to look him over, and someone randomly paying his apprentice fees, you might start to piece things together a bit.
You'd hope so at this point.
Yes.
We have. We're not smart.
One other thing about that is Brienne knows that Gendry was born in King's Landing based on the way that he talked, which is one of the few references in this story to any sort of regional dialect or geographical vernacular that
I thought, and you're probably going to say, yes, we have had that, but I thought there was a clear northern accent that could be recognized. So, like, the possibility of a fake Arya is predicated on it being Jane Poole who has the accent.
I think we have discussed that if that is a thing, it would work for Jane Poole. I don't recall there being mention of a northern dialect.
Us making stuff up? Interesting.
I think so. I could be wrong. We've done a few of these episodes now. I could be.
What's interesting to me is that the actors for the TV show were from all over England, and so their accents are a complete mishmash to me.
Right.
Like Arya and her father are like. They're from 250 miles from each other. They've never spoken, apparently.
And I think we've mentioned this on the show before, but you've told me many a time that within a few miles there is distinct regional dialects.
Yeah. So is there news that Brienne could learn from Gendry? I mean, the obvious one is the fact that he travelled with Arya and knows her. He's probably not going to cough that up easily. But if she were to say, hey, I'm on a quest looking for the Stark girls, it'd be hard not to say, oh, I know one of them.
Right. And I think if he learned to trust her, he probably would.
Leaping into the fray against Rorge and Biter might be a good way to earn someone's trust.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
He may not be able to look her in the chewed off face, but he'll be able to tell her his secrets.
Yeah. But he wouldn't be able to tell her anything more recent than the fact that
pre-hand.
Yes. And,
Do you think that the Brotherhood believed, I don't remember exactly how that chapter ended, did the Brotherhood come looking for her and think she was taken by the Hound?
We'll be right back. Greetings and salutations. My name is Tanisha. I am the host of Wellness Through Reading. This is a podcast dedicated to keeping reading a daily habit as a form of self-care. On the podcast, I give tips and tricks on how to keep reading daily. Also, I give out great book reviews of books that I'm currently reading that you can add to your TBR list. We post episodes every Wednesday. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so that way you stay updated when new podcast episodes are uploaded. And as always, I wish you, my listener, good wellness and good reading.
They had been looking for her, but the last they knew, she ran out and was never seen again. Yeah. They may have assumed that the Hound was involved. I can't recall off the top of my head. But, you know, the elder brother on Quiet Isle had the most recent information that she was headed toward Salt Pans, Arya.
So we've kind of covered this, I think, but Gendry says that when he hears the hooves coming into the inn, he says it's friends. He was mistaken, right? There's no way he was actually friends with his old chums from the Night's Watch, Rorge and Biter.
Oh,
okay, good.
His fellow recruits. I don't think those bonds were quite as tight.
Bonds formed in ice that melted.
Yeah, right.
But so that's two more long-standing characters are gone. They weren't popular. I mean, they weren't like as unpopular as Catelyn Stark, but you know, they were horrible murderers.
Yeah, I would definitely say good riddance to Rorge and Biter. The story can only be better without them. When they came riding in, the seven of them, Rorge was up front with the Hound's Head mask helmet on. I don't think she identified him because he was wearing that mask right away, but she definitely identified Biter, bringing up the rear because he is very distinct looking. She thinks to herself she has no chance against the seven men, but she also thinks, I have no choice, especially when I think it's Rorge threatens Willow. I have no chance, but I have no choice, which is a very different decision than what Sir Quincy Cox made in Salt Pans. And it just,
he felt there was a choice.
Yes, he did. I will hide in the safety of my...
There'll be nobody left to criticize my decision.
Right. But, you know, he's a knight, and, you know, she is just, as everyone keeps saying, some woman playing at a man's game. Yeah. And yet... you know, there she was, willing to risk her life to defend the helpless.
What's your ignorant bet of who killed Biter? Hyle Hunt?
Well, she heard Hyle Hunt had joined the fight, so we don't know if it was with some of the men that were still back there, or...
Come on, give me an answer. Stop prevaricating.
I'm going to go with Gendry.
I'm going to go with Gendry too. The third option is perhaps the well-timed arrival of the Brotherhood without banners, you know.
That could be as well. Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I like Gendry as that as well. So if it was Gendry, have we found the Uber Baratheon? He's got Renly's good looks. He's got Robert's fight apparently, and Stannis' being a bit grumpy. Gendry was very grumpy in this chapter, I noticed.
Yes, he was.
I mean, he's taciturn at the best of times, but he was miserable here.
Yeah, Brienne said, look at your face. And he said, what's wrong with my face? It's not as ugly as yours. I was like, oh, goodness. That's just not nice.
She's heard it all before. Don't worry.
She has, unfortunately. But I did like how she whispered sapphires in Rorge's ear as he died. And I felt it was a little bit out of character for her to taunt the man as he died. But I kind of appreciated it. I'm just surprised that she did it.
Yes. She doesn't like killing people, but he was not really a person. He was a monster.
Yes.
Who had to be slain.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Although I do fear she's going to have some awful scarring on her cheek from Biter.
Honestly, as I was thinking about it as we read it, I think these wounds would be fatal in the sort of like kind of wet and soggy Riverlands of this era. And with the best you can expect is someone to put a leech on it or something. I think
some sort of poultice or something.
Yeah.
That's true. Anyway, I hadn't thought of that.
It is time for some spoilers. Join us at the upper echelons of the Buy Me a Coffee Sustainer tiers, and you can get the spoilers. All right, thank you. Good spoilers. How about some background?
All right. Well, Meribald told us, repeating info that he gained from the late Masha Heddle, that an inn has stood at this location for hundreds of years, and that the current inn was built during the reign of King Jaehaerys I, which doesn't narrow it down a great deal because Jaehaerys reigned for 55 years, from 48 AC to 103 AC. So since we're in 300 AC, this iteration has stood for a minimum of 197 years, if my shaky math holds up there, which I'll leave you to correct me if I'm wrong.
Wasn't paying enough attention to correct you, okay. But yes, you're fine. Well done.
All right. Well, he says that eventually the inn was sold to an old knight named Sir Long John Heddle, and that appears to be how the Heddle family took ownership of the inn. And based on some info we'll get to in a second here, I'd guess that transaction would have taken place somewhere around 160-ish AC. And along with innkeeping, Sir John also took up smithing in retirement, and so he built a huge iron black dragon sign, and Meribald told us that the sign hung on the wall of the inn clanking away until John's son was an old man. At that point, a Lord Derry removed the sign because an Aegon IV bastard son took the black dragon sigil as his own and rose in rebellion, and that's in reference to King Aegon legitimizing all of his bastard children on his deathbed. The specific great bastard, which is the name given to Aegon's bastard children who were born to noble women, was Daemon Blackfyre, who rose up against his half-brother King Daeron II in 196 AC. That rebellion was the first of the 5 Blackfyre rebellions. There's 4 named Blackfyre rebellions, and then the War of the Nine Penny Kings was also sort of a Blackfyre rebellion as well. And finally, it's not surprising that it was a Derry who removed the sign, as we all know that the house is well known for its Targaryen loyalty.
Indeed. Comparison to the television show, this didn't really happen. Brienne does go to the inn, but at a much later stage in the book. And there she meets one of her targets, but that person refuses her at that point. So.
Oh, yes, I recall. I do, yes.
And pedantry, I've got nothing. I didn't see anything here.
Nope, me either.
Good. News and note.
All right, well, rumors are beginning to spread around Hollywood that Warner Brothers has been developing a Game of Thrones movie on the down low. According to the reports, it's still very early in development with no directors, producers, screenwriters, etc. However, the discussion is around whether it will be another in the line of prequels to Game of Thrones or whether they might sail for uncharted waters with a sequel. Regardless, it'll be very exciting to see Westeros or possibly Essos come to the big screen.
I will say in passing, I think it's not too difficult to keep a movie under wraps if you have no directors, producers, screenwriters. You know, like
you're right. We have an idea.
Yeah, our movie is under wraps as well in that respect. Because yeah. So it also seems that pre-production has begun on House of the Dragon Season 3. It actually kicked off on Halloween, so that'll be a good omen. Pre-production doesn't involve the cast or crew yet. It's all the legwork of building the sets, securing the shooting locations, minor role casting, etc. Showrunner Ryan Condal suggested the actual production will begin in early 2025.
All right, 2 things to look forward to.
Yeah. Let's conclude this one. So with Maester-level medicine, I do fear for Brienne's life. I mean, fingers crossed. I don't put it past George Martin to just let her die of an infection, just so you know.
Right. Yeah, that's not a very exciting way to go for such an important character.
Mundane death, it's in his repertoire.
Yeah, you're right. And I hadn't even thought about that, the fact that, infection is very real, very serious threat to her.
Especially when bitten by someone with sharpened teeth who's probably got...
Yes. Yes.
Not good. So we don't know who saved her, but hooray for whoever it was. Thank you for doing that.
Right. And, one thing about that whole scene is Rorge wearing the dog's head helmet suggests to her, at least, if she survives enough to think about it, that elder brother was telling the truth.
Right.
About all the things. So, or at least about the fact that it wasn't the Hound that was wearing this helmet. So, it's likely other things that he told her was true, like about Arya going to salt pans and probably dying in salt pans with everyone else in the town.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, that's true. I will say though that what you told us in spoilers last time about Elder Brother's story is not disproved by this. Just so you know.
Right. Yes. No, I do know.
Whoever is here at the inn now, might they have intel on Arya? We know that Gendry has intel on Arya, but it's not going to be very useful to her. But the other people who might are the other members of the Brotherhood Without Banners, who also know Arya. Beric, Thoros, some of the rank and file also know it, and even the reanimated corpse of Catelyn Stark.
Yeah. Now, of course, the whole point of her quest is to find Arya for Catelyn Stark. So
that's true. That's true. Yeah. But I wonder, just thinking about this, Arya's visited Catelyn post-mortem in her dreams.
Right, as Nymeria.
Yeah. Might Catelyn have recognized her?
You mean if... I hadn't thought about that. Of course, that if Catelyn was dead and had not been reanimated at that point.
Which seemed like it was, yeah. So that's true. Seems unlikely she would have got anything on that. But if it happens again, I wonder if she might be like, she able to tell Brienne, no, Arya is still alive.
Yeah, because we do know Arya is still having wolf dreams while in Bravos. So possibly Nymeria could have a run-in with Catelyn, and maybe Catelyn would recognize the wolf or the spirit of her daughter in the wolf, something like that.
And perhaps only because she's dead,
Oh. Huh.
Pre-mortem Catelyn might not have recognized that. Just thought, that's a bloody big wolf.
Right. Yeah, I like it. Could be. We'll see.
Right, next up, it's Jaime Lannister still besieging Riverrun, maybe? We shall see.
Maybe. I will tell you this. He does have his meeting with the Blackfish, so if you want to tune in and hear how that goes.
For sure. There's 3 ways that you can help us. You could leave us a positive review. You can buy us a cup of Arbor Gold at buymeacoffee.com/ghostharrenhal. There you can join us at any of the various sustainer levels. There's a tier to match your budget and interest. The upper tiers will get you the spoilers. Or you can just make a donation directly to our cause at our website, ghostofharrenhal.buzzsprout.com.
And if you're looking for more ways to interact with us, well, first off, you can now send us a text. The link is at the top of every episode's show notes. Just keep in mind that we can't respond to you. And if you're looking for more ways to keep up on the latest Ghost of Harrenhal news and developments, well, I suggest you go out and check us out on our social medias. You can follow us on Twitter at Ghost Harrenhal. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, and YouTube.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.